If you have been following our live streams and our hardware reviews over the last couple of months, you saw that we enhanced our sim racing rigs, our setups quite a lot, to really be able to test different hardware, different setups, and this also applies to the different screens that we have. And as Christmas is around the corner, and some of you might want to invest and start their first sim racing setup or just enhance theirs, there's always the question, what kind of screen setup do I go for? And there's also, of course, VR, but we will focus today on different screens. Is it a TV? Is it a super ultra wide? Is it the classic 16:9, or is it triple screens even? That's something we will show you today with some extras, with some bonus information about streaming and content creation, if you plan on doing that also with your screen. So stay tuned and let's go. And with that, welcome back to Overtake. I'm Michel, and this sim rig, this sim racing cockpit, is the one that you will see most here in our office. That's the SimLab P1X Pro, and it's fun to build. It's easy to adjust if you want to change the wheelbase, if you want to just throw some different pedals on that one. It's just very easy, and you almost every single time find a good seating position. And it comes with different options. The standard without monitor holders, without seat, is just below 900 euros, including tax, I think. With the blue seat that you can see here and the integrated single monitor holder, it's, I think, roughly 1.5K. Yeah, and it also has different options when we come to the topic of the screens, actually. So you see here the integrated single monitor stand or holder. You can also go with independent stands, third-party stands, whatever. This would also fit. And there's also the option of going for a triple. We will see that also in a second. 1 year ago, I had to make my own decision of what kind of screen setup do I go for. And I opted for a triple setup. And then I got to know this one. And this is also really, really nice. That's the Samsung Odyssey G9 47-inch OLED version with 240 Hertz. And some elements that are so important when you choose the right screen for sim racing, that's about refresh rate, response time, and also kind of the panel technology that is behind it. And this is one of the monitors with the lowest response time that you find on the market. Tested by Artings, sharp image, vibrant colors, and it gives you with a resolution of 5120 by 1440, a 32:9 resolution. So it basically doubles a standard 16:9 device, and this just gives you some more visibility on the sides, right? You can look deeper into the corners, and also it's so important to see your braking points early enough to have the right view direction in the race car a bit into the distance. And if you can just look further left and right, that helps a lot, especially going over wider sections or blind corners and stuff. You just see your reference points also earlier, and that helps a lot. So you, in some cases, you would even be able to see your rearview mirror in the car and also your left or right mirror, depending on where the seating position in the car is. And just the overall impression of the screen, its sharpness, its colors, how smooth it runs. So that's what I really, really like. This is roughly under 1,000 euros right now. So that screen over the last year got a bit cheaper. It was, I think, brand new over 1,000, like 1,300. But it got way, way cheaper now. There's an even beefier version, the Odyssey with 57-inch. And there the resolution goes even higher. And this requires, of course, a lot of GPU processing power. And also this one, I would say, if you want to max out your details in games like ACC or AMS2, if you really want to make use of these 240 megahertz, which is really, really nice. So you can basically go up to 240 FPS and you still match the refresh rate of your monitor. And that's something to consider. But then you also need a beefy graphics card, of course. We have a 4080, and this is capable of, in ACC maxed out, about 140 FPS. And one downside maybe for console racers that also want to have a PS5 or Xbox attached to their rig. These consoles do not support these super ultra wide resolutions. So you are basically stuck with a mostly 16:9 image. Also for people who like to share their gameplay with others or like to stream like we do. Yeah, of course, like Twitch doesn't support more than 16:9. So you can still play with your nice resolution, but people won't be able to see it, obviously. You can still use the canvas to shift here and there and also show the full screen, but then it will just be black bars on the top. You can put something else there, of course. But what helps also to make a decision on what kind of HUD elements you want to show to your audience. NVIDIA, for example, the NVIDIA app now supports filters, and there's also a filter called Letterbox. And without changing your resolution, you can basically just test and cut your screen left and right to have a 16:9 image. And then you see what your audience would be able to see. That helps a lot of setting up like the different HUD elements. Talking about streaming, USB microphones here from Elgato, the Wave 3 with the shock mount. That could be quite important if the vibrations of your driving get into your seat, and it will still not interrupt your microphone or create noise or anything. I invented a little solution to also mount these microphones directly to the aluminum profiles of our rig. It uses basically the standard desk clamp that they have with this microphone. Put a different screw into the piece that comes with the desk clamp, and then I screwed it onto our little aluminum block on the profile, and that works like a charm. It's really, really nice. It doesn't interrupt you in your driving. And we also have here on each of our setups our Streamdeck. This now has a SimHub integration, so you can basically do easier things like attach different key combinations to, for example, set a function in ACC, like ABS traction control. You can also show flags and stuff. There's an iRacing plugin now in the Elgato Streamdeck store. This is basically a button box with also enhanced capabilities to control even things like volume sliders. There's also the Streamdeck Plus, and Elgato often has some great deals for you, especially now around Black Friday. So we have a link in the description there, you can check that out. We rely on a lot of their products here, also for streaming. We have, for example, a dual PC streaming setup. We also did a video on that, by the way, you can check it out, how to stream sim racing. And we touched on a few topics, comparing also capture card with an integrated capture card or like the USB capture cards that they have. So we also have this dual PC setup here with the 4K Pro capture card that also allows us to take the signal of this super ultra wide screen, which is not so easy with the standard USB capture cards they have. So you need the integrated 4K Pro one, and we also use the Camlink 4K, for example, to capture our camera. But we also have these like Elgato HD face cams to create multiple angles and stuff. So that helps a lot. But let's move on with our next screen setup. Okay, so here we have the Track Racer rig that I used for a couple of months. And on the other rig, we also had the SimLab XP1 load cell pedals. This is now equipped with a Logitech Pro. And I can imagine that this kind of setup is something that many people will also use. We also had a poll a few months back on our community tab asking you about what kind of resolution are you using or what aspect ratio. And I think 16:9 had 55%, so the majority of you guys are still racing on a standard 16:9. And one great example would be a TV. Like a standard TV, that's a great entry to 4K gaming basically. And it's even cheaper than our Odyssey that we showed you. That's a standard 43-inch LED Samsung TV, nothing special. It was important for us to go for the 60 Hertz version because many of these come also with 50 Hertz. And that's also the first and biggest limitation that you will have with a TV, because usually if you have a TV with higher refresh rates up to 144 or 100, they also get crazy expensive. And this is around 500 euros right now, so almost half of the price of the Odyssey. And you still get the great resolution of 3840 by 2160, and you still have a great image, vibrant colors, good contrast. Usually you sacrifice a little bit of the response time, as you also have the HDMI cable and no display port. So yeah, lower refresh rate, lower response time, but therefore you can also save a bit on graphic power because you are stuck at 60 Hz anyway. You could just cap your frame rates in your games at 60 and you still have a good experience. And this is, I think, a good option if you also plan on console racing. So we also have our PS5 here, and this is usually our setup where we also test PlayStation or Xbox compatible wheels and wheelbases. So yeah, I really like that. Yeah, the only other thing is with a setup like this, that your screen is further away from where you are actually sitting or from your wheel. So I prefer basically having the screen right behind my steering wheel, because it just helps you a bit with anticipating those braking points. You are just more immersed also in the racetrack. It's just easier to see. And yeah, another topic that is really, really important is the FOV, obviously. We all know the memes about FOV police, and if you have the wrong FOV, FOV police will be there. And there are calculators for that. I mention that quite often, the FOV Calculator, that helps you with setting up a natural field of view. Yeah, so you can basically type in your screen size, your distance to the screen, you can measure it then. And yeah, titles like Assetto Corsa Competizione, but also others, they have a certain menu where you can then type in your field of view. And in this case, as you can see in the comparison screenshot now, 32:9 doubles the 16:9. We lose a lot of vision here on the edges, obviously. And you can still compromise this a little bit with choosing a different field of view, so you can see a bit more then. And I did that already. So it recommended me an FOV of 30, and I pumped it up to 40, because 30 just for me looked a bit unnatural, and the width of the track and everything just didn't look good to me. So I stepped it up to 40 again, and this is how it looks right now. I think it's still fun, and especially if you change between PC and console and you are not as competitive and you don't rely on the super low response times, that might be an option for you. Okay, if you want something that sits in between 16:9 and 32:9, but you don't have the space or you can't afford that crazy super ultra wide monitor, maybe that's the solution. 21:9, that's a resolution of 3440 by 1440. And yeah, it's basically the little brother of the triple screen monitor that you will see in a second. It has 144 Hz as a pretty simple VA panel. Quite affordable. That's an AOC monitor here, and yeah, it gives you just this little extra on the sides compared to a 16:9, and is still like a manageable resolution when it comes to your hardware requirements. So this is something I also want to tell you what's important when choosing a monitor. First, set a certain budget, then look for the best sweet spot when it comes to refresh rate, response time, and if you can test it somewhere like in a store or something, I would also recommend also testing different monitor panels and technologies like VA, IPS, OLED. They all have their advantages and disadvantages, or some of them are just more expensive. Any day of the week, prefer this over a 16:9. Just gives you a bit more left and right. It helps already, even if it's not a lot, but it helps already with estimating these braking points and corners. And this is also a very nice setup here with the T818 with the Thrustmaster. Also a wheel that we just recently tested here, the Hypercar wheel. And yeah, here you can also see, in comparison to our Super Ultra Wide, this is not the integrated triple. In this case, we have the single monitor stand. So we have even more flexibility in just changing the screen or bringing it to another rig or whatever. So yeah, 21:9, also a good example. And here's also the comparison screenshot with the FOV that we've chosen now. Okay, this right here is what I call our high-end rig. And it can, of course, still evolve, but I think for the sim racing gear that is on it, in terms of SimCube Active Pedals Ultimate and the SimCube 2 Pro wheelbase, that's already pretty high-end. And also a nice solid Sparco seat right here. And this is the triple setup. And this, of course, gives you the best vision. Like you can see so much left and right. You can look outside your left window. You can basically also in this Aston Martin GT4, you can see your rearview mirror. So this is of course the best visibility, but this comes also at the price of your PC's performance. So you will lose more FPS, of course, with a triple screen setup. We talk about 7680 by 1440. That is a higher resolution than the ones that we saw on the other two systems. So usually in our experience, we lose about 30 to 40% of the FPS when we have the same game settings, of course. You can always lower details, yeah. But if we have a maxed out ACC, just as an example, and we have 140 FPS roughly on our super ultra wide, we will have roughly 90 to 100 FPS on the triple setup. And yeah, we've gone for a, I would say, budget-friendly or sweet spot option when it comes to the screens. 16:9, of course, a bit curved. Our super ultra wide you saw had a more curve. It was 2100R. This is how they measure how much curve your monitor has. These are cheaper VA panels, price-oriented, but still gives you some good refresh rates and also good response times. And these are AOC 32s. They have 31.5 inch, and they are roughly 220 euros per monitor. So that's, I think, considering also that they have 165 Hertz, this is quite a competitive price, and therefore they sit in a really good sweet spot for sim racers, I would say. The only thing with the VA panels is, and that brings us back to the curved, is that you lose a bit of color information. They are not as nice on the edges. If you have a certain viewing angle, the color gets lost a bit. They look a bit darker if you are not like directly in front of it. So the curved helps a bit with this when you plan to use them as triples. So that's why it makes sense to have a slight curve when you go triples. And in the comparison, in the gameplay, in the screenshots, you can just see how much more you are able to see. And yeah, this almost translates to a 180 or up to 180 degrees of field of view if you set it up correctly. And yeah, this is just nice to see also cars overtaking you left and right. You don't have to push the buttons basically to look left and right, because you just can just turn your head. And yeah, the vision that you have, if you don't move your head, is even higher than a VR headset. So we talk about like roughly 110, 120 degrees. You can of course look somewhere, but just from your peripheral vision, triples are even better. That's something we found out in our triples versus VR video. That's also very interesting to watch. I will link it also down below. But yeah, also here on this rig, same setup here with the microphone. There's the Elgato HD cam waiting for the next live stream. And yeah, that's some impressions here for our sim racing setups and my learnings and my thoughts after a year being here now with different screens and how they operate. And I think triples is still the way to go, even though it takes a bit more effort to set any sim up correctly. Like we will have a detailed triple screen guide and how to set up each individual sim. Once that's done, I will link it also down in the description. This will also be constantly updated then throughout the year. That will be the 2025 edition of that. And we probably also will have that in video form. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Let us know in the comments what kind of setup do you prefer. And then we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. See you next time.